The bow is a versatile weapon that's great for kiting your opponent and keeping them at range. If you're new here, I'm the Core Gameplay, and in this Furycraft video, I'll be going over a bow build that focuses on pure damage so you can kite your opponent and execute them. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the bow skill tree, weapon and gear perks, gems and attributes. For the skill tree, I'm mainly going to go into all of the synergies that it has so that I don't bore you. First of all, let's take a look at the abilities. For the abilities, I chose Poison Shot. It's just really good, so I chose it. For my other ability, I chose Evade Shot. It's just really good for kiting. And for a bit of damage, I chose Penetrating Shot. That's all of my abilities. Now for some synergies. I'm not going to go over all of the passives, but I will go into each synergy that all of the passives have together. So for the first passive that really synergize well is our damage passives. For our first damage passives that really synergize really well together is long range. Now we have long range. It also synergizes really well with aim true, and it synergizes with surprise attack, which all synergize well for opening up with damage. If our target is further than 10 meters away, we get 20% extra damage, and when we heavy attack, we get 30% extra damage, which we will probably do when we open with our first shot. We will do a heavy attack, and then for our last passive that can do big damage is surprise attack. This will do extra damage every time we haven't hit our target in 10 seconds. If we combine all of these passives, we should be able to get about 70% extra damage that we can open with. Next, let's take a look at how we are going to kite our target. Two passives that synergize really nicely is Archer's Speed and Dodge and Weave. All of them will give us the potential to kite since it will give us haste. For this one, we'll gain haste when we swap our weapon. Really good if we just want to keep swapping weapons. It does have a cooldown, but the next one is also really good. After we dodge, we'll gain haste as well. So these will synergize nicely, giving us some speed. Plus we have Evade Shot, which will basically give us evasion so that we can run away, so that we can kite as well, and then do damage with these two passives. For the lighter synergies, there's also a couple. For example, we can have arrow range, which will basically make it easier for us to hit our target from a distance, and it synergizes with aim true because we will be able to do a heavy attack and our arrow will fly faster, which will make it a bit easier to hit. And for the last synergy in this build is basically our execute. For example, if our target gets below 50% health, we will do more damage, which is really nice, and it also synergizes with closing in, which will reduce the cooldown of our abilities once our target hits 50% health. We also get another passive that will be able to synergize with the gem, and this is Evade Tactics. Evade Tactics will allow us to do more damage when we dodge, which can synergize really nicely if we put an opal gem on our bow. That's just a couple of the passive that I wanted to go over. Since they synergize nicely, you can go read the other passives, but they all will just add to your kiting ability and your damage. Next, I want to go over some gear perks that I would like on my gear. I decided to make a little infographic so that you can see all the gear perks for the bow and what I would equip, so I don't have to list each perk for the bow and the jewelry pieces. So let's dive into the bow first. First, you're going to want Keen, Vicious and Enchanted. All of these perks will allow you to do more damage, so picking up these perks on the bow is my preferred perks that I would like. Next, let's go into armor. A really good perk for the bow is Enfeebling Poison Shot. That's basically a must take on the armor, just on one of your armor pieces. And then for the other perks, you can choose Resilient and Vigor. Moving on to our jewelry pieces. For our amulet, you can choose Divine, Health and Fortify. All of these will boost your survivability. For example, health will give you more health, and fortify will just allow you to take a bit more hits when you hit 50% health. For the earring, I chose refreshing toes, purifying toes, and regenerating. This will boost your potions, and purifying toes will just remove any debuffs from you. And for the ring will increase our damage, so I chose frost damage, keen awareness, and refreshing evasion. And that's all our gear perks. There's a snapshot for you, so you can quickly reference it if you want to. Most of these perks will increase our damage or our survivability or cooldowns on our potions. For the gem on my bow, I'll probably go with Opal just because it's synergized with a perk on my bow, Evasive Tactics. Evasive Tactics will basically give me more damage when I dodge, so the Opal gem synergizes really nicely with that perk, so I'll gain extra damage when I dodge for both of the passive and the gem, so it's really nice as well. So this is why I go with the Opal. For my armor pieces and jewelry pieces, I'll basically balance out my build with malachite gems and diamond gems, since they will give me a balanced resistance against physical damage and elemental damage. For your attributes, you want to balance out your attributes between dexterity and constitution. Duke Sloth made a really good video where he explains why you want to do this, but this is the most optimal way to get the most out of each point, so you want to balance them out 50-50. Since the bow only scales from dexterity, you want to put the rest of your points into constitution, so this would be the most optimal way to spec your bow. For my secondary weapon, I'll probably go something with dexterity that scales from dexterity. Since the bow already gives us that attribute points, we can just choose a weapon that scales from dexterity. I'll probably go with the rapier, but if you want to, you can go with the spear. The spear is pretty difficult to play with since players can dodge your abilities, and the rapier will just give you more movability. You will be a bit more mobile, so I'll definitely go with the rapier for this build. Make sure to leave me some feedback on this build. I decided to change things up a little bit where I don't dive into the skill tree and the perks as much, since I wanted to keep this build under 10 minutes. So let me know, what do you think about this format? Should I dive into the perks a little bit more and list each one and the passives that they give you, or do you like this format? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe since I will be releasing more builds when the game releases.